Hello my fellow whale watchers, I decided to stop playing war robots. And in this video I'm going to explain why, because I feel like I owe you an explanation. In a nutshell, I do not feel comfortable anymore to advertise the game War Robots. This game is broken in so many ways that I've lost confidence that its problems will ever get fixed. It's rather the opposite, there are more and more new issues coming into the game without the old ones getting fixed. So War Robots, in my opinion, is on a downward spiral. There is no vision or action taken by the responsibles to stop this spiral in a sustainable way. So I will not spend time, creativity and effort anymore into advertising War Robots, and I will now present you the top 10 reasons in a bit more detail, but there are many others as well. In my opinion, any one of these reasons by itself would be a valid reason to quit War Robots, but all of them together even more. So let's come to number 10, which has been an unresolved issue for a long time. Not sure what else to say about it that has not already been said. Master League players run into full champion squads, Silver League players run into MK3 hangars, and the algorithm is set in a way that every player achieves about 50% win rate on average, which doesn't make any sense because it discredits good players. So in short, matchmaking is just bad throughout the leagues, fixing it requires efforts based on data and I cannot see any effort being done in this direction. I don't know if War Robots ever had a functioning targeting system, but for a game of this size it deserves much better. There are examples out there when you play other games where you can aim and shoot at the targets that you intend to hit, instead of being auto-switched to targets that are hundreds of meters further away, or that let you correct your mistake if you simply misclicked instead of clicking through all targets in front of you again. And by the way, if you're running a Capri, a Nodens or a Demeter for example, have you ever managed to bond to the target that you actually want to heal when few of your allies are standing in front of you? Just a few examples why this is an issue, especially in competitive gameplay and in combination with lag. Lag has become a huge issue in the last few years whenever new robots, fancy gear and new game mechanics were introduced to the game. All these functionalities that basically nobody needs, together with bad servers and the unwillingness to change things, has led to a point where you simply cannot play this game anymore if you don't have professional gaming devices. As a reminder, this is a mobile game, so you simply should be able to play it on your cell phone or your tablet. But robots appear behind you from one second to the other, you can't hit a thing when fast robots are circling you, you waste all your salvos for heating up the air in front of you instead of hitting the target that you see in front of you, especially if you play against squads, and just before or after new updates, of which there are many. There are many bugs in this game and some of them have been live for weeks and even months, and some were simply never fixed. Just to give you a few examples, the flying height and the immobility after landing of the Muramets Titan, the hitbox bugs of the Seraph, or the bug where you lose valid kills in FFA for no reason when your robot is destroyed. And with every new update, new bugs are introduced without old ones being solved. So for a game of this size, this is simply not acceptable. Tankers have always been in this game and Pixonic only recently started to introduce very moderate measures against tanking. This is by far not enough and players will continue to drop down up to 2 leagues in order to run into weaker opponents with their OP hangars. It is quite easy to identify tankers in fact. As a first approach, just use a script and filter out suspicious stats that leave no other explanation. It's just that Pixonic never did it, for their own reasons. Tankers are a huge issue in lower leagues and they discourage especially new players from playing the game because the battles are not fair. Hacking has never been a big issue until recently, but in the meantime hackers have basically started to run their own YouTube channels, to sell their hacks and to position themselves even on top of Legend League for extended amounts of time. So today it is a huge issue and is now threatening to close down this game. But at the same time it is also a logical consequence, simply because Pixonic was reluctant, unwilling or ignorant of this issue for a long time. Although also other games suffered from hackers and were even brought down by them, for example Apex Legends or Titanfall. Since the last few months, Pixonic customer service has basically ceased to exist. If you have issues, you typically get standardized replies to look at the FAQs, stating that there is an increased amount of inquiries at the moment. This is not only bad for the game itself, because many issues go undetected, but it also undermines trust with the player community, and shows that Pixonic does not have enough resources to deal with the current amount of issues. The WoW Nerf cycle has been established in the last few years and is basically a business model that Pixonic follows. They introduce overpowered must-have items to the game for sale. Once enough players spot them, they get easier to obtain and get nerfed, in order to promote the next overpowered must-have item of the game that gets introduced a couple of months later. This is basically the reason why War Robots is a pay-to-win game. Either you spend money or you don't advance in the game. For the majority of players, it is simply another reason of discouragement and frustration, especially because of the sheer number of new items that are introduced into the game in a very short time frame. This cycle does not allow players to catch up if they don't spend money, so they get butchered on the battlefield by big spenders. One of the most frustrating aspects of this model is that skill becomes less and less important if you just spend enough money on the newest gear. Pixonic has the right to do whatever they want with their own game. We all agree to the terms and conditions of this game when we start playing. However, it makes a huge difference if a company is transparent about what they do, or if they are intransparent and always leave the feeling that something cannot be right about certain things, without proper explanation or sometimes even with blunt lies. Did you ever wonder why you never get what you need most when it comes to chest openings, but others seem to get these items all the time? Well, it depends on the algorithm. And if you don't know the algorithm, in theory it can all just be chance, right? Just by chance, you never get gold from event chests when your gold is 0, but you get lots of components that you do not need. Or you have a Dazzler already and all you need is a second one, but instead the game just gave you your 17th lantern, also just by chance. Or another recent example, leaderboards. It was supposed to be a tool that allows you to get additional resources if you beat your peers. Today, in almost all recent leaderboards, opening many chests or upgrading many items in a short time makes you win the leaderboard. Who would have thought that they would mainly become a tool to encourage players to spend money? Or silent nerfs. A Titan weapon used to be worth more than 11 million silver when you sell it. But from one day to the other, without any communication, a Titan weapon was worth only 3 million silver or even less. It just happened overnight. Also, the nerf of the Muramets Titan. Who knew that it will lose its stealth during Ascent and Descent on the live server? It was never announced, it was never tested, and it was just implemented like that. No comment, nothing. And that brings me to the final reason. We, the player base, especially the veterans of this game, have a lot of ideas and suggestions, and many of them are backed up by data, by polls, or simply by our vast experience in playing this game over and over again. Sometimes in the past, when Pixonic announced something new, I couldn't find anybody that has played this game for more than a year that is in favor of the change. And still, the item, the idea, the nerf or the buff comes into the game. In fact, our feedback has been ignored so many times that I often wondered if anybody at Pixonic ever makes the smallest effort of understanding on what impact an item, a buff or a nerf will have on their game. And looking at the developers versus YouTubers battles, I'm also wondering if any of the devs actually plays the game, even from time to time. There's no serious dialogue between players and the company, no forum with the player base. Instead, we fill out feedback forms that are ignored and standard off-the-shelf replies where we suggest our ideas to the customer interface. I don't know any veteran player or gamer that was in favor of motherships, or the bendy bullets, or drones, or shield microchips, and so on. We said, please reconsider to put this item into the game, or in that form, it would cause issues that will destroy the game. And they still came, and made the game basically unplayable, until this point today, where we are locked into a mixture of ridiculously overpowered items, huge lag, ping shields, hackers, free-to-play players that are getting slaughtered by tankers and super whales, a broken in-game economy, a dysfunctional targeting system, bugs, unbalanced teams, and a short-term profit-driven company that destroys her own game by greediness, lack of basic support, intransparency and ignorance. So for these reasons I decided to quit this game. So will I ever start playing again? If Pixonic should make a serious effort to solve these issues, sure, but I have lost confidence that they ever will. I would have just wished that they took more care on actually keeping players in the game than pushing them out, by their business strategies and ignorance of feedback by their customers, but in the end it's their game and they can do whatever they want with it. What will happen to this YouTube channel? It makes me quite sad to leave it because I have spent a lot of effort into setting it up. As one of the very few ones out there, this YouTube channel was dedicated to help you, the War Robots player base. To my knowledge, there is currently no other channel offering, for example, tactics explanations, tutorials or hanger reviews on a regular basis. I still have a huge video archive left from my active days and may create one or another tactics video from there when I feel like it, But at this point in time, I don't plan to be nearly as active as I have been in the last 2 years or so. So this brings me to my last point, to say a big thanks to you, my viewers and subscribers, that have supported this channel for such a long time. You were basically the reason why I kept it going until now, despite all the issues that this game currently has. I hope that you will be able to find some fun in this game in the future, and that this channel can provide you with some better understanding of game mechanics, tactics and feedback to your questions and hangar setups. I also want to thank all my in-game friends, creators and especially the members of my clan, the Iron Smiles, for being so supportive and encouraging over the last years. This meant a lot to me and I just cannot thank you enough for that. So, I guess that's it. All that's left to do now is to thank you one last time for listening in and for watching this video. Have a fantastic day.